Let's go ahead and get this audio amp fixed in place just a little bit better. Part of what I need to do is these two screws that are holding that platform in place need to come up a little bit because we're going to attach the surface transducer there. So I'm going to pull them in just a little for right now, and that'll let me get this amp more in its position that it needs to stay in. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and tighten down the amp so that it's in position there. Okay, now we're going to flip this back over. And I'm going to go ahead and route this cable through this slot here. That is where that will go. I'm going to get bag 304. So let's get these cleared out of the way. I've got bag 112 here. Let's go ahead and get the mount out of 112. And then open up 304, which has some double stick tape to use as dampening material, and then has the audio transducer. So I'll go ahead and open up this transducer. Now this transducer will sit right here in this little circle cutout area, and then this bracket will hold it in place. We don't want to put it directly onto the frame of the robot, so we're going to put a little bit of this dampening material underneath it. We don't have to fill the circle fully or perfectly, just most of it. And you can use a variety of materials. This double stick tape is just a pretty easy material just to give it a little something to be absorbed by. So I'm just going to trim just a little bit tape there, just big enough to fit inside of the circle like that. I'm just going to push it down, centered roughly where this transducer will go. I'm not going to remove the backing. I'll just leave it like that in case we want to change out the material later. Then I'll just put this tape, the remainder of this tape, in the bag. So now our transducer will sit on top of that tape patch, and we will anchor it down with the bracket. So to do that, we're going to need to remove these screws that are holding the audio amp platform in place. So I'm going to hold the amp with my thumb underneath just to make sure it doesn't move. It shouldn't go very far. It's constrained by the wiring. So make sure that's aligned still. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring this bracket into place here. So it's going to sit like this. And I'll take one of these screws and just going to put it through one of the holes. I'm going to bring the audio amp into position where it should be. And then I'm going to bring this screw in like this through the bracket. And I'm just going to tighten that, get that started. Okay, so there we go. I'll swing this back into position where it will be oriented eventually. So now I've got it kind of tacked in place. I'm going to take my surface transducer and I'm going to take the two wires coming off of it. I'm going to feed them through this slot here. And then just make sure those wires come through the other side so I can use some tweezers just to grab them, pull them through. So now I'm going to slide this into place like that. Okay, so I'm going to get this into alignment with the audio amp platform, and I'm going to take some tweezers, since this is a pretty tight space. And I just use those to help me align initially. So I'm going to go through that hole and then thread in. And that's starting to come down, so I won't tighten this all the way yet. Just make sure my alignment is good, and it is. And so now I will go ahead and tighten these down, but I'm going to be really careful because this is a delicate bracket and it's easy to screw right through it and break the little hole if you're not careful. So just gently bringing each side down. Until it gets nice and tight. Okay. And so now that's tightened and it's holding this transducer in place. And we've got the transducer wiring coming through here for the audio signal. So we'll set that like that. And so the transducer goes into the right channel of the amp. So the amp is labeled with the right at the top and then left at the bottom. And the positive lead, or the red lead, will go into this top slot that's right plus, and the black lead will go into the next slot, which is the right minus. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I will get a screwdriver that's just a little bit smaller. Open up these two slots, these screw terminals, and I'll take the red wire and bring it into the first slot. Let me make sure we've got a good end here. So I'll bring it in the first slot here. And I will screw that down. Nice and tight. And then I'm going to do the same with the black wire. So bring it into the next terminal here. Slide it into position. And then I'll tighten that down. All right, so those are in place. And I'll just kind of tuck them out of the way down here. And we'll set that there. The screwdriver up. All right,